Hey, welcome back, guys. This is another video. Today we're doing a contest response video. Scott of Sconnie Tradition announced a giveaway for his 600 subscriber contest, I guess you could say. And our assignment is to make a video and to tell the history of our family, our makeup, our nationality, so to speak. And if we have any interesting family stories to tell them. And that's why you see this book front and center today. My family on my father's side is very much into their family history, so it's been very well documented over the years. And as an example of that, this book was written in 1992 about my great-grandfather and his family. Here shown on the cover, the House of Myers. That's my name, of course. And that's my grandfather right there as a young boy. He was the youngest of four boys, including him and a sister, so 5 children in all. He was the youngest. And this is my great-grandfather. His first name was Jehu, Jehu. He was he is the person around whom this book is centered, basically. And he was a pretty special person, and I'll get into that shortly. But first, let's talk about his father, or this is my great-grandfather. So my great-great-grandfather is pictured in this book. And his name is, right there with a beard, good-looking gentleman right there. That's Michael Myers. So contrary to popular belief, I'm not named after the killer on Halloween, although I do hear that every single day. Yeah, I'm not named after him. I do hear that all the time, and people say, I bet you hear that all the time, don't you? And yes, I do. It doesn't bother me, though. So I was named after this person right here, my great-great-grandfather, whose name was Michael Myers. He was a farmer. He was born in 1838, born in and raised in the state of Virginia, which later became the state of West Virginia, of course, in 1863. But he was born in 1838, so the first 25 years of his life, he actually was a resident of Virginia. And Michael's father was Josiah Myers, and his family was Pennsylvania Dutch. Okay, so in a brief, I guess I need to digress a bit here. When people refer to the Pennsylvania Dutch, they're not referring to people from Holland or from the Netherlands. The Pennsylvania Dutch were actually descendants of early German immigrants. And the Dutch, probably better pronounced Deutsch or Deutsch, refers to the particular dialect of the German language that they spoke. So my family has a lot of German ancestors, and Anglo-Saxon English, and some French on my father's side. In fact, the name Myers, M-Y-E-R-S, in French is Meyer, M-I-R-E, which means physician, which is very interesting because Michael's son, the subject of this book, was a physician. And he graduated medical school in 1895. And the 5 children that you see there, they all 5 of them, became physicians. And all 5 generations since Jehu lived, there has been at least one person in the medical profession in every level of generations, including my oldest child, who's finishing her first year of medical school. Well, I guess, depending on what happens with the coronavirus and her schooling, which is currently on hold, of course. But she was on track to finish her first year of med school in May of this year. Now, back to Michael. My namesake Michael and his father and 2 brothers all fought in the Civil War in Virginia. And of course, during the Civil Wars, when West Virginia became a state, 1863, it's kind of oddly located in that some of its residents fought for the North and some fought for the South. And some families indeed fought for both. And that's why you may commonly hear people describe the Civil War as a war brother versus brother, and oftentimes it was. But my namesake and his brothers and his father all fought for the Confederate Army. So that's kind of a neat fact. Now back to J.W. Myers, my great-grandfather, and the subject of this book. He was a doctor, and he was truly a horse and buggy doctor who made house calls using a horse and a buggy. And a very intelligent, very innovative guy. He developed a lot of medications and treatments. In fact, he started the Myers Remedy Company, which had its own brand, its own label, its own products, and they were available in other doctors' offices and hospitals. And additionally, he really wanted to keep in touch with his patients. So he developed the first switchboard system in West Virginia, and to keep in touch with his patients. This was in the late 1890s, and by the time he finished, there were 1,700 phones in the system in just this small area of the state of West Virginia. And his wife would work as the first telephone operator in the area. So that's kind of an interesting fact on my father's side. Now, my mother's side, it's not as well defined or well documented. From her side of the family, it's mostly Irish. From her father's side, my great-grandfather's name was McCabe. Can't get much more Irish than that. And she has submitted a sample to 23andMe in an attempt to trace her, not really family history, but her ancestry, I guess you would say. And maybe not too surprisingly, her ancestry pretty much lines up with my father's family history. British and Irish, 40%. French and German, 26%. And then this category called broadly Northwestern European, 18.3%. So I guess you would say that's United Kingdom and Ireland and Northern France, Northern Germany, Norway, Sweden, places like that. So that's usually what is considered Northwest Europe. So that's it, guys. Appreciate Sconnie Tradition, guys. If you haven't, I'll put a link, of course, to his channel down below. If you haven't checked him out, feel free to do that. He's got just an amazing collection, just out of this world. And he's putting on this 600 subscriber contest. He's up to 614 or 615 last time I looked. So he's one of those channels that's continuing to grow quickly. He does a great job. And I'm happy to submit this, my little piece of the family history and my nationality. So that's it, guys. Appreciate you watching. Thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't. And check out Scott's channel down below. He's on Facebook and all the other social media platforms as well. So I appreciate you guys.